as the agenda we informed you yesterday, today we will have two sessions of plenary discussion. And it will be conducted in two sessions, in morning and in the afternoon. For morning session, we are happy to have here Miss Diajeng Indah Angelina Basuning Tias, or we call her as Miss Iyang, as the moderator. Miss Iyang now work for Zenius Education as teacher upskilling lead. A brief of Miss Iyang can be seen here. Okay, I'm sure all the participants cannot wait to come in the plenary discussion session. Then I would like to give the floor to Miss Iyang. Please, Miss Iyang.
Thank you, Ibu Ade. Good morning, or I should say good day for all of you, because I am aware that a lot of you belong to different time zones. My name is Iyang. You can call me Ibu Iyang. And in case you're wondering how to say my name, it's just like when you call your name, whose name is Ian, I-A-N, but only the spelling is different. Since last night, I've been so excited that I could not close my eyes. It was so hard for me to sleep. When I looked at the materials, the presentations, and the profiles of the speakers, I felt like I was so lucky to be in this event, and I really hope that you're as excited as I am. Our first presenter, when I saw the slides or the presentation, I got so flabbergasted. Working with teenagers and also with teachers, the past 20 years have given me a very great lesson that human interaction and real interactivity cannot be replaced over Zoom or over screen. But right now we're living in a different world. We are forced to use all of the survival skill that we have so that we can, live with this new best friend called pandemic. Apparently, Professor Alfonso Serrano from Mexico, he's been studying about this. By this, I mean, he's been studying since the 80s, basically. He's been studying physical sciences and then moving to applied physics and then to optics. And then in today's presentation, we will be have the opportunity and fortunate enough to hear from himself about his study and how technology can be used, can support our human interactivity despite being in different places. If this can really happen in classrooms, then I would be so happy to visit you in each of your classrooms and you can see me physically. Why do I use quotation mark? Then I will leave it to Professor Alfonso to explain everything to you. Move on to you, Professor Alfonso.
Yes.
Okay, you can start greeting and talking about your brilliant presentation to our esteemed youth guests.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Well, hello to everyone in this panel session. It's a pleasure for me to be here in this June citizen conferences. I want to thank first Mrs. Daya Permasasari, President of Dr. Rabbit Science, Inc., for inviting me to participate in this talk about the project that we are carrying out in my institution, Tecnologico de Monterrey in Mexico, with the name of Hologram Professors Program, which is a disruptive model of distance learning with the objective of humanizing the distance education experience that the students receive. What do I mean by the name of hologram professor? It refers to the fact that the teacher who is teaching the class from distance, his or her image appears projected in 2 dimensions on a glass screen, correctly, in real size, and with the original color in a hologram effect, within the classroom where the students are present, as can be seen in the images of this slide. On the other hand, when I mention humanizing the experience of distance education, it means that in the classroom, the students perceive the professor as if he or she were present there with them. The teacher is not physically there, but his or her image is present in the classroom, and the teacher can see the students, the teacher can talk with them and carry out all the activities as normal in a face-to-face class, as you can see in these images. This innovative educational experience is based on telepresence that recreates the natural dynamics of face-to-face environments with the use of conventional technology that projects the image of the teacher on a glass screen in such a way that simulates a hologram effect. Let's watch a video that shows how this way of teaching is performed. Oh, sorry, I need to activate the sound. Sorry, thank you. Okay. Here's the video.
Hologram professors. The innovation of hologram professors responds to the 21st century educational challenges, such as bringing quality education to different places at accessible costs and humanizing the distance experience. Students arrive to their session with their classmates, and as they enter the room, they can see their professor as if he was there, even though he's actually at a distance.
Me parece una idea innovadora, algo nuevo, interesante, que nos permite revisar los temas de manera más dinámica y conociendo profesores de otras regiones.
In these types of sessions, professors have the same tools as in a face-to-face session: visual supports, simulators, interactive applications, and the opportunity to interact directly with each student by engaging their attention. The student has all these resources to establish integral communication with his professor and classmates, thus humanizing the experience.
Agregan el código QAETY. ¿Ya lo tienen? Sí. Levanten la mano los que ya tienen el código para yo así darme cuenta muy bien y que ya tienen la presentación.
Facilitators are present in each classroom, teaming with the professor by attending the students. While projecting, the professor is able to view all groups in real time, observing students' reactions, and addressing their questions and doubts. Interaction takes place both between professor and students, and between students and their classmates at different sites.
Esta experiencia fue una experiencia increíble porque nos ayudó a interactuar con otros campus y aprendí mucho.
For students, the innovation of having hologram professors offers them the opportunity to expand their academic horizon by being able to interact with outstanding professors, as well as renowned guest leaders from all over the world.
Que este formato de telepresencia con este efecto de holograma me permite estar presente dentro de muchos lugares, en muchos salones de clase, la interacción con los mismos estudiantes, con los mismos jóvenes, y ver finalmente cuál es la ganancia de ese aprendizaje.
The pedagogical and instructional models created for this innovation include active learning and gamification strategies, among others. The main models are collegiate, where the role of the hologram professor is rotated between teachers of different groups who teach the same course. Professors who are not participating as holograms stay with the students. This model gives the student the opportunity to have several at-a-distance professors for the same course. Another model is the star expert. The hologram role is taken by a single professor who teaches all the course for several remote sites. The advantage of this model is the possibility of bringing the professor's knowledge to the students at different sites simultaneously. The third model is the star guest, where top industry experts, entrepreneurs, and leaders are invited to the class as holograms. The realism of the projected image and the real-time interaction with the audience makes the hologram professor's experience innovative, interesting, and unique. Since its first implementation in 2016, this innovation has impacted more than 10,000 students and more than 300 professors inside and outside Tecnologico de Monterrey, also benefiting other universities and organizations in Mexico and the world. Given the current challenges, distance education will take on special relevance. Today, more than ever, we need new ways of offering distance and hybrid learning, which allow greater flexibility and continuity in education. Without a doubt, the innovation of hologram professors is a valuable alternative for meeting this need, since it combines the best of the face-to-face and digital experiences.
As you saw in the video, it recreates the natural dynamic of face-to-face class, where the students interact with a professor and classmates in the same space, because they perceive the teacher as present in the classroom. As a result of this, they interact in a natural way as in a face-to-face class. On the other hand, it promotes an immersive state that facilitates the absorption of knowledge, and the students are more focused and alert to what is happening in class and what they are doing to achieve their learning. Now, what happened in the transmitting room where the teacher teaches the class? I show this in this short video. Here, you can see the professor placed in the space where behind him, there is a green screen background. He used the tablet. It can also be a laptop in which everything is already integrated for the class teaching. There are people in this transmitting room who help with the control of the transmission equipment with a conventional equipment that is used in business video conferencing. We can also see how the teacher looks the students on one screen and also looks in another screen the class information that is presenting. From this place, the professor is able to interact with the students anytime. In the classroom is the receiving room. There are 3 screens, as you can see in these images. The one in the middle is the crystal where the teacher is projected with the hologram effect. On the other hand, presentations and class activities are projected on the screen of the right side, and it also works as a whiteboard. And on the screen of the left side are displayed the students from the different groups who are participating in the class with the same teacher. In this case, there are 6 classrooms with approximately 25 students per class from different campuses, also could be from different classrooms. And in this way, the professor attend around 150 students in total. The impact that this program has had in 3 semesters inside of the institution in the period 2018 to 2019 is the participation of 1,529 students, 25 teachers, 11 campuses involved, and 19 subjects taught. About academic performance of the students, there is no significant difference between the control groups of face-to-face classes with the courses taught in telepresence with hologram effect. About the engagement, students were highly motivated when participating and attending classes on time. In this case of educational technology, there are an integration of computational tools for active learning activities. You saw also this in the video, such as computer simulators, virtual environments, computational apps as Kahoot, Socrates, Edpuzzle, etc. On the other hand, one of the benefits of this project is that maintains the natural dynamics of face-to-face class. In consequence, it stimulates the state of flow that allows the students to focus on their learning. Let me mention that this project has received awards from the International Forum Reimagine Education the last December. The project received the Silver Award in the category of Information, Communication, and Technology Tools for Teaching and Learning. In this slide, I show 5 people who participate and were awarded in the event. And also these 5 people are the main people who made possible the development of this program. Here there are 2 professors who started the project in 2016, and also these 3 ladies who they are the administrative coordinators of the program. In August 2018, exactly 3 years ago, this program formally started, in which we were the first professors in participating in teaching this model. On the other hand, we have the important support from our academic authorities. In addition, we have the support of pedagogical and technological staff, more than 30 people, who make possible the continuation of this program. Thank you very much for your attention to this presentation. My contact email is written in this slide for any additional information that you require. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Alfonso. I would like to greet our esteemed youth guests. And I'm going to have a question for you. After listening to Professor Alfonso's presentation, would you be interested in taking part of a hologram class, and why? It would be very interesting to see your thoughts and your ideas, and then we can also discuss it with Mr. Alfonso by the end of the presentation session. So let me summarize a little bit from what Professor Alfonso has already explained to us in the presentation. Basically, he's been working on creating a boundaryless classroom by presenting professors or teachers in the classroom without being there physically. And what's also interesting is that the professor, which is projected in the hologram, can be also present in multiple classrooms. By this, that means if Professor Alfonso is being hologram, then Professor Alfonso at the same time simultaneously can teach us in Indonesia, and then you guys in Turkey, and then you guys in Italy, and then you guys in America at the same time, and then we can all be, virtually connected. Is it correct, Professor Alfonso?
Yes, but it's important to say that the image is not exactly a hologram. Yeah, it's just a projection on the screen. However, it's very interesting that the image that you see on the screen projected from the professor it's very similar if you see a hologram, you know. However, this is a simple idea. Just use a projector, a conventional projector, that this project and this image just in the classroom. It's important to arrange the lights and several things, the sound, and this is the important thing in order to simulate a hologram effect. Okay, yes, this is what I want to say.
And also the highlights is probably on the real size of the screen.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you, Professor Alfonso. We will have a further discussion. So please stay tuned. And participants, Ibu Yang is still waiting for your answer. Will you be interested in the professor, hologram professor class, and why? Please write your answers on the chats, and I will be reading it to Professor Alfonso by the end of the presentation session. Okay, next. So hyped up looking at and listening to Professor Alfonso's presentation, but our second speaker is, I don't know, when I read her profile, which you will be reading as well on the CV, she looks like a superwoman who translates languages from scientists, from scientists to common people like me. And I always think that it's like a superpower. When you realize that we have COVID-19, when you heard that we have vaccine, when you heard that we have to have a second dose of vaccine, when you heard that now you can go out, but you still have to wear double mask. Have you ever realized that actually a real person, or a team of real person is actually designing on how to communicate the information? Have you ever realized, or have you ever thought about it? Well, if yes, then you really should listen to and get to know Dr. Jenny. Dr. Jenny is a director of Economic Communication, which was established in 1995. She's a science communicator. How cool is that, right? It sounds like a superpower. It sounds like she speaks different language and then translate it to us. And then for the past 30 years, she's been leading a lot of programs and be involved in significant projects to communicate findings or even warnings from scientists to common people like us. So if you have questions for Dr. Jenny, please feel free to send it to chats anytime, and then we will choose some questions to be discussed with Dr. Jenny by the end of the presentation session. Over to you, Dr. Jenny.
Thank you so much, and it's lovely to be here. Good morning to everybody in Indonesia and any other countries that are here. It's afternoon here in Australia, and almost 10 years ago I was in Jakarta working with Mrs. Daya Ratner and Dr. Venario Lego, who's going to speak this afternoon, and we had a big symposium there, which was part of the public communication of science and technology. And I would love to be there with you in person today, but unfortunately, because of COVID, we can't. We can't be together. I was very interested to hear from Professor Serrano about the holograms. Maybe a hologram would be better than this Zoom for us to interact with you all. And but I don't think anything, I'm sorry, Professor, I don't think anything's as good as face-to-face. But it is a real privilege to be here with you today. I'm going to share my screen. Now, I have actually been a science communicator for almost 32 years, actually. So September the 18th, I remember the date, 1989, I joined a research agency in Australia, and I started the journey, the exciting journey of working with scientists to help them to interact with people. And that includes students like yourself. It includes farmers. It includes people from industry. It includes a whole spectrum of people. And there's nothing quite so rewarding as to see the benefits that science has and can bring to the lives of people. I have been in the very privileged situation of seeing lives be changed because people can understand and become part and can participate in science. And COVID, I think, more than anything else, has actually brought to our attention across the world, without exception, the importance of science and medicine in our lives in a way that I have not seen in my 32 years as a science communicator. And it's that which I want to talk to you today. What does this mean for our world? And more importantly, what does this mean for your world? Because you're the future. What does this mean for your world? And it's something that I think you need to be thinking about as potential future scientists, science communicators, or as citizens who need to make decisions about science, which is true of all of us. We all need to make decisions about science. I was interested to see in the press that a lot of, and in the media and in the social media, that a lot of scientists have now become celebrities. They've become famous. And here's one of them that I believe has become a bit of a celebrity in Indonesia. He's a US doctor, and he has thankfully dispelled the myths that eucalyptus and bear brand milk can cure COVID-19. And he did that in Bahasa in Indonesia through Twitter. So he has become one of the famous scientists during this weird world of the pandemic. This is Professor Peter Doherty, who is a Nobel Prize winner in Australia. And as you can tell by his age, he's a retired, but he still has a hand, and he's become a commentator he's a very prolific Twitter user. He has many thousands of followers, and he's always tweeting about what's happening with the pandemic because he is a scientist in that immunology world that is so important at the moment to our understanding of the pandemic and the vaccines that are there. So a very interesting profile. He's just written a book about what it's like to live for 1 year under a pandemic. Well, we're now way past 1 year, of course. The next one is Professor Anthony Fauci, a US who's become famous in the US, not just the US, he's become famous the world over for his views and ideas about COVID and how we should be dealing with it. And so we are seeing these rise of celebrity scientists. What I want to speak to you today is that in this world, this new world that we're all living in, and you're going to be living in it a lot longer than me, what are the three things we need to think about? And the first thing I want to look at is the theory of science and how science progresses, the theory of discovery, and what that means for us in our understanding and our communication of science. Second, I want to talk about trust and the relationship with how we see science and scientific institutions is important because that affects how we make decisions about things. And lastly, I want to talk about truth. There's been a cascade of myths out there about what is happening with COVID and with the vaccines and the use of vaccines and so on and so on. So let me first of all turn to theory. You're probably all aware of the scientific process. You ask a question, you work out what you want to do with your research, you plan it, you make a hypothesis. Now, this is a really important thing. This is something that you think will happen because of a variable. And interestingly, in science, as I'm sure you know, our aim is to disprove the hypothesis because that gives us more knowledge and more ways of moving forward. And then we experiment, we gather data, we analyze it, we draw conclusions, and we reflect upon it. And then we might ask some more questions. But where do you think most of the public communication of science happens? It happens at that purple arrow after we've reflected on it and we've published our results, I'm going to put it to you as young citizens of our world that we need to be communicating with the public all the way through this process. It's not enough to wait to the end. The public, people like you, people like me, we need to be involved in this. We need to understand this. We need to better understand the process of science, because in doing so, we can better understand the information that comes from it. We can better make decisions. We can also be involved in a more democratic way in the process of science. So in terms of a hypothesis, how do you create a hypothesis? You need a good question to start with. And we've had lots of questions about how can we treat this COVID-19 virus, and more recently, the very virulent Delta strain of the virus. We do lots of background research about that. And then we make sure that we can test it. And we set up an experiment that has dependent and independent variables. We try, if it's for example, a medical trial, we'll try to have a control so that we can compare what happens if we give the vaccine to some people, but not to others. So we try and have those different variables, and we do that process. Now, usually when we are doing something like a vaccine, that process that I showed you before can take 10 years. But we've seen this happen with a vaccine in less than 12, 13 months. We've had new vaccines arrive, which has been amazing. It has been revolutionary. And I think it's because of the effect that this virus has had on our world. So this is the process whereby when we're at the experiment stage, a clinical trial takes place. The university has to approve the process. Then the investigators, the researchers are selected. They're approved. Patients are recruited to be part of that clinical trial. Then we collect data. We have a look at that data. We analyze it using statistics. We present it, we publish it, and then we file a registration, and in this case, a new vaccine is available. Now, as I said, that usually takes 10 years or more. And we've seen that happen in a very short space in time. So at the moment, vaccine trials are underway for children. I just heard on the news in Australia today that the Pfizer vaccine has been approved for use in children from 12 years old and upwards. So that would be all of you people. Unfortunately, in Australia, we don't have enough Pfizer to give them. We don't even have enough Pfizer for the adults. So even though it's been approved and they've done the trials on young people, we have that issue of not having enough vaccine available. But they did a separate trial looking at young people, 12-year-olds to 19-year-olds, to make sure whether it was available to them. I think an important part of the communication has to be about failures. Quite often public think that science has got all the answers, that if scientists are doing something, it must be right. But there was a very public worldwide failure in Australia at the University of Queensland when their vaccine trials failed. And it was publicised. And it was one of the few times that I've seen a scientific failure get so much publicity. But we learn from those failures, and I think we need to communicate them more. So that's the theory. Let's have a look at the trust issue. What we have seen in many places across the world is that trust in science has increased during the pandemic. Not in all places, but in many places. So this was a study that was done on a number of countries, and what they found was that almost 90% of people agreed that science brings hope for the future. Almost the same amount of people thought this year would be better than last year. I'm not sure that it has been proved to be the case, but that's what they said. And 80% agree science will make life better in the next 5 years. So there is a level of trust that's out there. And you can see that science skepticism has declined for the first time in 3 years, because of this whole issue of the pandemic and the need and our reliance on science and medicine. So prior to the pandemic, 35% of people were generally skeptical about science. Now it's reduced down to 28%, although we're now beginning to see some increases in skepticism again with different vaccines. Why is this important? Because it depends on how people see science. And scholars from many different fields, including psychology, communication, marketing, risk studies, look at two types of trust. General trust, which is trust in people we don't know and institutions we don't know, which is generally, in our case, scientists and scientific organizations. And then there's the most powerful type of trust, which is that interpersonal trust, which is where we really start to believe things. So that general trust is based on reputation. So you might trust a research institution that has a long record of doing good, ethical, reliable science. Interpersonal trust is based on relationships. And for me as a science communicator, I'm often at that point of trying to build interpersonal trust. It can't be done on a mass scale, but it can be done on a smaller scale. Here's an article about vaccine hesitancy in Indonesia that has arose. So, and this is an example of people being concerned in Indonesia because of pork products being in vaccines. And this has increased to deep distrust in the government and therefore potentially the scientists advising the government. So we need to make sure our messages are clear. We need to be honest about what is happening out there with the vaccines and with the science that we're doing. I was involved a few years ago working with farmers all around the country. This is the map of Australia, and you can see that there were farmers all around the country, and it was part of a climate champion program. And I use this example because this is an example of that other type of trust where interpersonal relationships can be built. And these farmers, about 40 of them, met regularly and interacted formally face-to-face and informally as well with scientists in climate risk. And what I found is that after that, they did this for a 6-year period in what I like to call participatory science communication. And there was this huge trust that developed between the scientists and the farmers. And this helped in the communication of knowledge and the sharing of knowledge, and in farmers being better able to manage climate risk, but also scientists better able to do the right research to help them. Very, very important to have those interpersonal relationships. And if we can find a way to do that in the science medical space, then I think that can be helpful. Here's one of our climate champion farmers, a dairy farmer, Lynn Strong. She went on to set up a program for young people called Art for Agriculture, where students decorated cows or koalas with artwork to show what they thought about sustainability. And this program is still going today with students all around Australia, learning more about agriculture and about how we can make it environmentally friendly. My third area is truth. Indonesia has a lot of people using Facebook, not nearly as many as in the Philippines, but still lots of people are using Facebook, particularly those between the ages of 18 and 35. Lots of people using Facebook, particularly men, interestingly enough. I think in Australia, it's mostly women, not more than men, but in Indonesia, that's the case. A lot of people these days are getting their information from Facebook, and that can be a problem because there's no monitoring of the quality or the truth in that information. Here's an example, invectin milk among Indonesia's unproven cures. So there's misinformation, and a lot of it is being shared on social media like Facebook. The World Health Organization has developed 12 myths about COVID-19. So we're seeing lots of these misperceptions coming up. One of them is, can COVID-19 be transmitted through mosquitoes? No, no, it can't. And so they've identified these 12 myths. Another one is, can spraying alcohol or chlorine on your body kill a virus inside? But no, it can't. Don't worry, it cannot. And it can, in fact, cause damage to your clothes and your skin. So these are some of the messages that we need to get across to ensure that the truth is out there. Here's an example of Sinovac's COVID-19 vaccine trial. And I think some of the messages here are a little confusing. But what they showed is that this worked. And if you look down the bottom there, it's 91.25% in Turkey and 65.3% in Indonesia. But I think when we're talking about some of these things, we're talking about risk. We're talking about the level of risk, and we need to make that risk clear. Here's an example of something that the Winton Centre for Risk and Evidence Communication put out about the AstraZeneca vaccine, which is the most common vaccine being used in Australia, but also in the United Kingdom. And you can see that the chances of having side effects from this vaccine are far less than dying from the coronavirus, dying from an accident or injury, or dying in a road accident. The risks are a little bit more than being hit by lightning, but not really much more. And sometimes by making these comparisons, we can help explain risks so that people can make decisions on a rational and logical basis. In conclusion, what are our scientists of the future going to be like? I hope they're not going to be like the mad professor that we often see in movies, male, white, crazy, because there are many, many other faces in the science profession. I'm hoping that our future scientists are a diversity of people who are good at communicating with people and explaining risk, explaining clearly the sort of things that we need to make decisions about. Thank you very much.
Wow, Dr. Jenny, listening to your presentation made me wonder a lot of questions, like, for example, is it true that blah, blah, blah? Is it true that blah, blah, blah? Because, yeah, you have presented a lot of twisted facts, like things that we thought was fact, turns out it's not. So one quick question for Dr. Jenny. I'm sure there are a lot of, like, a list of strategies to, overcome the circulation of hoax in the public. But if we're talking about social media, is it effective to educate, or is it effective for hoax to circulate? Which one does it lean more to?
I think it's effective for both. But remember who people trust, and people trust interpersonal relationships the most. So if you can each be ambassadors for truth and use the social media forms that you use to communicate with your friends, your family, your community, to get out the best scientific knowledge we have in a friendly way, then I think that's the way to go. And remember that people have genuine concerns, and they're not stupid. They're just genuine concerns, and we need to treat them with respect as well.
I see. So there's nothing wrong with questioning or with asking something, yeah, Dr. Jenny? So there is no question which is too simple. All questions deserve to be discussed, correct, Dr. Jenny?
Absolutely. I think it's really important that we ask questions, direct questions, simple questions. And certainly when I'm talking to scientists, I tell people who work for me, don't be afraid to ask a silly question, because if you don't understand it, nobody will. Okay. So we need to ask those questions. We need to be clear.
Right. Brilliant point. Thank you, Dr. Jenny. So participants, if you have questions, well, like me, if you have questions about vaccine, about research, about science, about where to find or where to get latest updates of science or related topics, then please feel free to send me the questions, and then I will direct it to Dr. Jenny later on. Thank you, Dr. Jenny. A couple of months ago, I watched this couple of movies, and it lingers in my mind. The first one is an Indonesian movie made by Indonesian movie maker. It's titled Semesta. Semesta means world. In that movie, depicting 7 of figures living in 7 different places. Even one is in big city, another one is in remote forest in Borneo, and then they all are doing something small or big for the environment. And then another movie that I watched is called Cowspiracy. Have you seen it? It's about how we are tricked to consume the byproduct from cow, be it milk, be it cheese, be it beef. And then it also discusses how our action, our small action, our lifestyle, how we treat water, how we treat food, how we treat electricity has huge impact on our environment. And then when I look at the material that Ibu Finda has prepared for us, I read this very beautifully written phrases. The air we breathe, the land we stand on, the water and food we need, living creatures and all surrounding us is environment. Ibu Finda, the person that is going to be sharing valuable information to us this morning, Ibu Finda has been working with environment quite long, and I imagine she's like modern version of Jane of Tarzan or Mowgli, because she's been defending our environment and our forest. I mean, Indonesian forest from extinction. Did you realize that forests can extinct too? Well, I am very excited to introduce Ibu Finda to you, or she prefers to be called Finda only. And I hope that you can also share your curiosity, questions, concerns, even, or opinion to Ibu Finda through me, and I will redirect it to Ibu Finda by the end of the presentation session. As you can see on your screen, right now, Ibu Finda is involved in the ministry, in Indonesian ministry. And she is right now the art director for complaint management, monitoring, and administrative sanction in Ministry of Environment and Forestry. See, now you know why I picture Ibu Finda as the modern life or modern version of Mowgli and Jane of Tarzan. So Ibu Finda, over to you, Ibu. I hope you are prepared with your presentation.
Thank you, Ian. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. I'm very grateful here to be here to have a discussion with young citizens and young generation of millennial generation. I'm actually replacing Mr. Rasio Ridho Sani. He is Director General of Law Enforcement. Could you please to share my screen, please? Because I have trouble here in my computer, so please share my material. Okay. Okay. First, okay. So in this morning, I'll try to share information and we'll have discussion with you about the role of science in environmental protection. Next slide, please. If we talk about the environment, it's important to notice about the biodiversity. if you can see from the picture here, there are various biodiversity in Indonesia. Indonesia is the second largest biodiversity in the world. So you can see we have a huge area about the forest, and we have natural resources in a large amount or a huge amount of the natural resources. So if we see all species and their interactions in ecosystem, so we see how beautiful is our Earth. So we have to protect the environment from an early stage of age. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So because
sorry, apparently there's a technical glitch here. I will try to reshare the screen, yeah, Ibu. Or is it now on the screen share?
Yes, but
yes.
It's a blur, not clear. The picture is not clear.
I see. Is it on the on the right page, Ibu?
Sorry?
Is it on the right page?
Yes. No, it should be on the third slide.
I see. Operator, are you working on it, or do you want me to take over to share the screen? It's a bit blurry if I look at the monitor in YouTube. Ibu Finda's slide looks a bit blurry.
Yeah.
Okay, let me try to reshare Ibu Finda's presentation.
I'm sorry for inconvenience because I have, yeah, this is clear.
I see. And is this the page that you need?
No, before that. Okay. The third slide, yes. So this
one,
is,
yes. Okay.
Thank you, Yang.
Thank you,
As Yang said that environment, what is environment means? So environment is the air we breathe, the land we stand on, the water and food we drink and eat every day, living creatures and all surrounding us. We call it as environment. Next slide. Next slide, please. What happened? Can you do that? Yang, there's trouble with your slide?
Ibu, the page that I'm showing is nature as climate regulator. Which slide do you see on your screen?
No, this is still in slide 3. I need next slide about the
next slide.
This one?
Is nature as a climate regulator. No.
Is it this one? No? I don't know what happened. Wait.
Could you?
Is this?
Yeah, that's right. That's
okay.
Right.
Okay, I see. Okay, thank you. Sorry, Ibu.
Could you make it a slideshow, please?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So nature has its own characteristic. If I take one quote from UNEP, United Nations Environment Program, yes, natural process modulate and maintain Earth system, thereby providing a stable climate, mitigating natural hazards such as food and fires, maintaining air and water quality, and supporting biological productivity. However, human activity, mainly for the industrial activities, bring about to adverse impact to the environment, such as environmental pollution, such as water pollution, air pollution, and hazardous waste generation. And it's all changed the natural cycle, including climate. So next slide. Next slide. Yes, so I think before that, yes. So we need science to protect the environment. We need, we learn and develop science to find the way to solve the problem, to anticipate technology and regulatory challenge, and makes a solution to hamper the environmental pollution and environmental degradation. According to Bertolaso in 2013, mentioned that science is about discovering, understanding, explaining, and predicting patterns in natural phenomena, producing more explanations of how the natural world works. So science and technology plays a very important role to mitigate or to hamper the environmental degradation. So without science, we cannot solve any environmental problems. Okay, next slide. Yes, besides natural science, we also need to know about the legal studies. We have to acknowledge legal studies. From the legal studies, government can make regulations and policies to limit the activities of the exploitation of our natural resources. So the government can create standards and policy to hinder environmental pollution and environmental deterioration from irresponsibility activities. So with appropriate and up-to-date regulation, so we can protect the environment from irresponsibility activities or criminal behavior. So all scientific knowledge must be preserved to prevent environmental problems and to give solution to its current environmental issues. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is the pictures of environmental problems that we face right now. Yeah, there are marine debris pollution, and also we in Indonesia face forest and peatland fires recently. We have a very big forest fire in 2015. So this is the result of forest fire, that there is no other flora and fauna there. And we also face the oil spill from the oil and gas production activities. So because of irresponsibility activities, so that they throw or they discharge the waste to the environment directly without any treatment first. And also deforestation because of the mining activities. So these are some of our problems in Indonesia we face. Next slide. Yeah, other threat from the forestry, we face illegal logging, encroachment, illegal mining, forest fires, and from the forest fire and give the air pollution very badly. Complex and dynamic crime involve various actors, organized groups, corporations, individuals, and transnational actors driven by financial benefit motives. It causes ecological disaster, threatening life, mental and moral destruction, and state financial loss. Here in Indonesia, these criminal activities we call as an extraordinary crime because the loss from these activities are very, if we compare to the money, it comes to very huge amount of money we lost, especially for our country. Next slide. Now why do we need to protect our environment? Now we have a 7.8 billion population in the world, and it's still growing in every second. So the more people means the more consumption. More consumption means the more resources we exploit from the natural resources. And also the more consumption means that the more waste we generate. So we have to keep in mind to this matter. So all our activities will give not only positive impacts, but also negative impacts to the environment. For example, we see the energy consumption. It is related to CO2 emission. Nowadays, since the main source of power generation globally still depends on the coal burning and coal and fossil fuel burning, then this is non-renewable resources. Secondly, industrial activities also generate large number of waste, including wastewater, air emission, and domestic solid waste and hazardous waste generation. So this is the impact, the result of the industrial production. In terms of municipal waste generation, nowadays has become a source of water and land pollution. And last but not least, from the mining activities, which natural resource exploitation also give an adverse impact to the environment. These are all we need for our daily needs. Yes. Okay. Next slide, please. Here we are. Now we live in 21st century, living in a fear of climate change crisis. All environmental pollution and damage caused by human activities, as I mentioned earlier, will be used as a huge problem called as a climate change. Climate change is the phenomenon where the temperature of Earth is rising and natural life cycle is disturbed. You may have seen news about fires in Turkey earlier in this month, or maybe bushfire in 2020. And also maybe you have heard about the melting of ice glacier in the Antarctica. These are phenomenon as a result of the climate change. So many news expose the fatality of the climate change. Next slide. It is a little bit difficult to, as you can see from the left graph, this is observed that some experts, or this is the source from Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change in 2021, if we still do the activity as a business as usual, like now, where we still use intensive fossil fuel, so it is predicted the rise on sea level in 2100, the sea level will rise about 1.75 meters compared to 1950 of years. So we can see the as a result of the sea level rise, there are many small islands in Pacific Ocean will be underwater in year of 2100. So and second, on the right graph, you can see that human influence from human activities has warmed the climate. So it is observed that in 2020, the rise of temperature of Earth is about 1.25 degrees Celsius compared to 1850. So it is the earth is an alarming situation. So we have to change our mindset to maintain our environment protected. Yes, next slide, please. So we have to do something, yeah. So science has teach us to do effort and then come to new approaches for environmental sustainability. UNEP, United Nations Environmental Program, in 2019 has introduced the sustainable consumption and production. And in Indonesia, in 2013, has established 10-year framework program, sustainable consumption and production. So we have to start from now to limit or to think about our daily activities to hinder the further environmental pollution and environmental degradation. There are some efforts through the sustainable consumption and production, such as sustainable resource management, design for sustainability like green building, and also now we try to effort on cleaner production and resource efficiency in industrial activities. And sustainable transport in some countries has already have the electricity vehicles, and eco-labeling and certification on green product, and sustainable procurement, sustainable marketing, sustainable lifestyle. In Indonesia, now we already try to change to use limit plastic bag, and also we already have efficiency on energy. We have to turn off our energy if we don't use it, and also we also have the waste management from all our activity. In industrial scale, in other development, we have the life cycle assessment to make sure every company make effort to reduce waste throughout some activities in the business process and increase the efficiency of energy and resource consumption. So it is a global effort in all the world, but Indonesia have already tried to start to do the sustainable consumption and production. Next slide. Yeah, in Indonesia, we still use the end of pipe policy that Indonesia have to have a quality standard before any wastewater or emission discharge to the environment. So we create policy based on science and to have the standard to limit the industrial activity. So we need the regulation because we want to make sure that the industry do not harm the environment when they discharge their waste to the environment, and which may cause health problems and even mortality of death to the human. So industries have to build the wastewater treatment plant to treat their wastewater, and have to make air pollution control to reduce their emission to the air. Next slide. Now, before we have talked about the application of science and technology to reduce the environmental negative impact to the environment. Now we will talk about the law enforcement. Government here has role to protect its people from bad quality of the environment by making certain policy and standards, and all the regulation and standards have to be enforced by the government. law enforcement, based on our experience in Indonesia, have a deterrent effect to the polluters. And also right now, there are an increase of people awareness in the need of the clean environment. So now there are many people who complains to us about the bad quality of environment. So it means that the awareness of people has increased. They need to have a better water quality, air quality, and there is no land pollution. Okay, by the implementation of the law enforcement, at the end is expected to create compliance culture, not only from the industrials, but also from all community in Indonesia, for the sake of environmental sustainability. Next slide. Yes, this is one of our tools in our Ministry of Environment. We have environmental inspectors and we have environmental investigators to control or to check the compliance of the polluters' activities. So, environmental inspectors and environmental investigators should be government officers. Here are some pictures when environmental inspectors do site inspection to do some activities in industries. So we see some solid waste here. They dump directly to the environment without any treatment, and also we conduct, for example, sampling, taking for water or an air emission, and then we conduct analysis to whether their waste meet the standards or not. Next slide. Yes, to support our activities, to support inspectors and investigators, we need some technology to make an accurate result from our activities. Here, if you see the left side, we have the operational room. Here, our management can control all of our inspectors and investigators. They know, he will know the report from our inspectors, and also from this operational room. This we have big data that consisting many things about the standards of or the forest area or the license permit from the industry. So before we go to the site inspection, we have to study to learn about the initial information. So we will have correct inspection, and then we get an accurate result. So and then we do mapping using drone. Yeah, I will show you later in the next slide. Using mapping with drone, we will have existing fact of the environmental pollution, and we do have equipment to analyze in situ about the quality of the wastewater. Next slide. Yeah, this is, as I mentioned earlier, that from the using drone, we do mapping, and we can analyze how much waste that already dumped to this landfill. From our example, this is about 1 million meter cubic of waste has already dumped to this landfill. So I mean, here this technology plays very important role to us to support our investigation and inspection about the compliance of the industrial activities. Next slide. Yes, this is the output of inspections, environmental inspection. There are only two types of output, namely comply. So it is comply with the regulation or violations on regulation or permit. So if there is a violation on regulation and permit, so we will bring that case into the law enforcement. There are three types of law enforcement we use, namely is an administrative sanctions, civil sanctions, and also criminal sanctions. So this is, I think, the last slide for my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Ibu Finda. Listening to Ibu Finda's presentation, it's like the little Greta Thunberg inside me has waken up. And I want to do something, but I don't know what. It sounds like our home, which is the earth, is not okay, and we need to do something, but I still don't know how I can contribute as a common people. If you're as confused as I am, then you can just send me questions so that I can redirect it to Ibu Finda by the end of the presentation session. Okay, so we've got three presenters have done and shared their valuable information and knowledge to us, and now we are entering the last but not least of the presentation. I was reading Bapak Ashwin's presentation, and I was touched because he's the only presenter who shared about his family. So when I'm introducing him to you, I have to say that Bapak Ashwin is a father of 5. Why I mentioned this, you will know once you listen to his presentation. Back then in 1978, he graduated from electrical and electronics engineering in Bandung Institute of Technology. And then since then, he's been rocking in the field of information communications technology. We use internet every day that we become oblivious. Have you ever wondered and asked yourself, what would happen if internet is gone only for a day? Or what kind of person you would be? How will you communicate? How will you talk to your friends or your family, your relatives? How will you study? How will you define your future if you don't have internet for a day? This sounds like a rhetorical question, but it's not. I'm 40 years old right now, and back then when I was 10 or 5, I did not know what was internet, and here I am now. So there is always a possibility that one day, only God knows when, but probably in one day we will lose internet. And what kind of person will we be? Let's see and hear what Bapak Ashwin has prepared for us. And if you're interested in digital lifestyle, then I guess this is your thing. Bapak Ashwin, over to you. Thank you, Bapak.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Ibu Yeng, and thanks for the Dr. Rabbits Incorporated and Milsep that invited me for this international meeting. Very interesting. I see so many young guys here, and you are the future leader of your country. So it's very interesting to meet all of you in the cyberspace. Let me share, because it is already 10:25. I will make it a bit short. Let me share my screen. Now, compare with the other presenter, I think my screen is presentation is very simple. This is ICT as a tool for globalization. And one of my activities now, as mentioned, is I'm a member of the Indonesian National ICT Council that give ICT, information and communication technology, from telecommunication, internet application and contents. We give, this council gives advice to the government. And I'm a member of that. In addition, of course, as mentioned, I also give lectures in several universities. Now, first of all, I would like to define the globalizations. There are so many what you call definition on globalization, but here the one I use is the one used by the US government, written in the Library of Congress, where globalization is very simple. It's international exchange, the gross international exchange of goods, services, and capital, and increasing levels of integration that characterize economic activity. In this sense, globalization is only another word for internationalization. Importantly, it is economic activity that is fuel and furnace of cross-border integration. So this is basically what they use in the US government, I mean. You can get it from the link here. But there are many more definitions. Many added several other things such as cross-border information, human rights, whatever. But basically, this is the one that I use here now. Now, let me start with globalization in my daily life. I learned that, I know that all of you are really young guys here. Well, more or less at similar age of my sons and daughters. I have 2 sons and 3 daughters. One of my daughters lives in Munich, and one in Freising, Bavaria, Germany. Freising is about 1.5 hours by train to Munich. One of my daughters lives in Kelowna, Canada. That's near Vancouver. One son lives in Jakarta and one in Bekasi. No, I and my wife live in Bandung, Indonesia, which is about 4 hours or 3 hours drive from Jakarta. How can I get contact with them? Almost every day. I make a video or voice call with all of them, with them and of course their family. I also want to see my grandson and granddaughter, you see, and I do through the internet, through video and voice call, just like what we are doing now through Zoom. I also using messaging service to get continuous contact, sending message, photos, videos, or whatever, including our meeting today. I just send a screenshot to them, which say, oh, your daddy is making a meeting with many young guys from all over the world. So I understand that some of you might live in different cities or different countries with your parents. So if you don't mind, just send them, hello, daddy, hello, mommy. So they will be happy. I assure you about this. Now, this is also important, this globalization. Last June, I, my wife, and my youngest daughter, who is studying in Kelowna, but that time happened to be in Bandung because of a 4 months holiday, we got caught with COVID positive. Now what happened is all my 5 children set up a video conference. Please note that last June, there were so many people got C+ Indonesia. Hospitals are full, and there are so many problems that time, including, the lack of oxygen, things like that. You can read the problem in last June in Indonesia. Now it is already better, much better. Now what happened is my 5 children get a video call, and my youngest daughter was requested by her brother and sister to help me and my wife. Now, bearing in mind, and I'm 67 years old, and I'm not so good with gadget, so Now my youngest daughter helped us to order home care PCR, PCR, testing COVID positive, doctor, medicines, order medicines, check our oxygen saturation. Oxygen saturations is the one that put in your fingers to see your oxygen saturations. Now, after 2 weeks of self-isolations, we are all recovered and get healthy again. Now, me and my wife has been vaccinated anyway. Now, my youngest daughter is better working with all the gadgets than me and my wife. That is, I'm sure all of you are better working with your computer and mobile phone than your parents. I can assure that. All her brother and sister support the youngest from their places, from Munich, Freising, Jakarta, and Bekasi. So it's something like a global video call and say, oh, how is daddy's oxygen level? How is mommy got a problem of oxygen level? My wife has a small asthma problem, you see. So all my children are a bit worried about their mom. So this global cooperation finally helped us to get healthy again. Now, I think this is what globalization means for me in daily life and in emergencies. Now, let's see what the telecommunication up to the internet. First of all, we have telecommunications. In Indonesia, it is operated by local operators like Telkomsel, Telkom, Indosat, whatever, Smartfren, and so on. Now, running above the telecommunication infrastructure, you have the internet. Now, this is important. While the telecommunication is operated by local operators, then the internet services are run by ICANN. ICANN is Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. They have partners and anyway. This is a company, a non-profitable company, non-profit-oriented company based in Los Angeles in the US. So they run internet all over the world from Los Angeles. Application and content, you have so many of them from YouTube, from Zoom, and so on. They are operated by local and foreign operators. Local, I mean Indonesian operators. Now, to get the idea of this, I just put a picture of this. Oh, by the way, this picture is was taken when I visited my daughter in München. You have a road and you have a rail on the road. Now, in the road, you can only use car with 5 passengers. But when you put a rail, then on top of the rail, you can run a train, a small train like this, and you can use 200 people there in 1 and 2 or 3 trains, you know. Now, comparing it with internet operated in telecommunication network. In telecommunication, when you use 081 or something like that, you can only send voice or SMS, short message, short, it's very short. But if you are using the internet, Zoom, WhatsApp, Telegram, and so on, you can send video, whatever. So many things, photos, videos, and so on. Now, that is the similarities. So that's why we are using Zoom now, because in telecom, if you are using telecommunication only, you can only use voice. Very short, very short. How internet works? This is how internet works in general. From your computer and my computer, we are all connected to the server of the ISP, Internet Service Providers. Now, assuming you want to connect with google.com, then your gadget, computer or mobile phone will connect it with the server of your ISP, whether it is BizNet, whether it is Telkomnet, or whatever. Then from that server, your gadget will ask one of the 13 root server worldwide, operated by several American companies and several institutions, including US Army, US ICANN, and so on. And they will ask, I want to connect with Google. How can I find google.com? And you see, every gadget in the world or using internet should get an IP address, an internet protocol address from ICANN, so that you can find it. Internet protocol address is something like an address of your home, you know. Now, the root server will then tell you, okay, I do not have it, the google.com, but please connect your gadget to the .com. .com is a top-level domain server. So it will give you the number of .com, in this case, 124.21.31.51. Then you go to the, then your gadget will connect with the domain server, top-level domain server of .com. The .com operators will then tell you, okay, the address is 66.102.9.104. Then your gadget will connect to the 66.102.9.104, which is google.com. So this is how it works. Of course, it is very fast, you see, because it is the speed of light, 300,000 kilometers a second. So you don't really feel it. So every day we are doing this, including when you would like to connect with zoom.com. It's the same, whatsapp.com. You do the same thing. Now, ICT is used as a tool to move activities from physical space to cyberspace. This is the important point for globalizations. Physical space is bound to a particular point on Earth. We can tell you, okay, where are you, Ashwin? Oh, I'm in Bandung, north part of Bandung, in this street, and so on and so on. When you are talking in cyberspace, where are you? Oh, I'm in cyberspace. You don't have to know where I am in this on Earth, but we meet here in cyberspace. All of us are here in front of my computers. No, we don't have boundaries. We don't have whatever, you know, we just together. Of course, some countries can set up legal boundaries. There are countries that block, for example, WhatsApp, that block YouTube. You can do that. Every country in the world can block any sites from their ISP. Just tell the ISP, internet service provider, okay, block Zoom.com, for example. Then they cannot do Zoom from their countries. That's very simple. All those blocking can be done here at the ISP server. Now, almost all physical space activities today can be done in cyberspace. Like WFO, work from office to work from home. Normally, we have a meeting like this in a big room or whatever. From our office, we have meeting in our office. Now we have a meeting from our home. From physical meeting to online meeting. That's what we are all doing now. We are all doing now. Zoom meeting, I'm at home, you are at home. Ibu Ian also at home, perhaps. Now, everything like commerce can become e-commerce, such as Shopee, Tokopedia, and so on. Money becomes e-money, such as Mandi e-money, etc. Well, every type of e-money. So, and don't forget, there are many other online activities. You can freelance job offer online, such as Upwork, TopTal, and many others. Platform to put your content, some as YouTuber. Some of you might be a YouTuber too. You can get a lot of money from that. If you upload a good content, then many people will open it, and you get a lot of advertisement on that, and you get a lot of money. Now, this is just a picture of what I'm telling. I've just told you the e-money from e-Mandiri, and well, not only Mandiri, of course, there are many others e-money in Indonesia. It's Tokopedia, Shopee, or whatever, you know, Bukalapak, whatever. Yeah, there are many of them. Just show you the idea. The e-commerce, that's what we are doing every day. Calling a taxi, calling sending goods, and so on. Now, this is freelancers. Hire freelancer in Indonesia. You want to hire it, just hire it online. TopTal is the world's top talent. There's a pool of top talents and top organization, and they can make business around that. Okay, can I hire you to make a picture of this or whatever? Now, next I would like to give ideas how I do this globalization in my daily life too. Actually, I can talk more about TopTal and Shopee and so on, but I think I better with youth like you, and perhaps I can share how I do it with my son. One of my daily activity here in cyberspace is e-commerce business with my son. Together with my son in Bekasi, he lives in Bekasi. One Bekasi is something like 3 hours from Bandung, or 2 hours, 2.5 hours, depending on the traffic, of course. We set up an online shop called YCC. This is an online shop. We use the Amazon platform in the US and system to run our shop. So you can imagine that my son is in Bekasi, I live in Bandung, together we run a shop. And we use the Amazon platform in the US, very far from you. I tell you what, my son has never been to US. He went to Australia, Europe, and Africa, and so on, but he never been to US. But yet, he ran a shop in US, online shop. The main market is USA, but now it's also open a small market in Canada. YCC products are mainly designed in Indonesia, manufactured mainly in Indonesia and China. Now that's interesting because the internet was intensively used for these business activities. We design a new product. When we design a new product, we do it in Jakarta, Bekasi, and Bandung. Why? Because we have to be able to check directly sometimes. We make a product, we have to know, okay, this looks like this. And it includes packaging, don't forget. We have to see the packaging. When the product is finished, we have to make a prototype of that. We check the product. We would like to feel the product by our hand because we would like to sell it. Then we have to do market research in the USA. How can we do that? So we do it online. We do it online how? There are many platforms in the US that can be done, that can be hired by us to carry out the market research online. We make a product, we will ask, okay, do you think this product is good for California? A particular product might be good for people in California, but might not be good for people in New York, for example. So it is, market research is important because we have to sell the product there. Now, after we finish the design in Jakarta, Bekasi, and Bandung, we can then manufacture it. where we can do the manufacturing. It can be in Indonesia, and in many cases we do it in China. Why? Because sometimes it is cheaper there, and the logistic from China to US sometimes is cheaper than from Jakarta to US, for example. So depending on all those financial situations, then we decide, okay, we will produce that in China. No, bearing in mind, my son has never been to China too. Me, I visited China. Oh, sorry, I'm so very sorry. My son, when he was very small, come with me to China for a short break. But it was many years ago when internet was not interesting to us. Now we did the manufacturing in China, in Indonesia, then shipment into US. All financial activities are done online. We pay, we hire, we get enough payment, and so on online. Now you can visit voc.com as our website and for the information, and amazon.com/voc for the online shop. You buy the product, we have agreement with VOC. Okay, we will do the payment, everything through the YOC, so the Amazon platform. Now, sorry, it is not really a promotion for my shop, but it is just an example. I was difficult to get example. I use myself as an example. This YOC is registered with the USPTO, US Patent and Trademark Office. Mind you, me and my son, we have never been to USPTO office, which is in America. I have never been there. I do not know where they are. But we can make the trademark registrations. This is our product, for example. We have made the can, hanger, and so on. This is the yoc.com. You can see the product and so on, and the price. The price too. Yeah, you can buy it here. Now, this is a hanger, for example. This hanger was designed in Jakarta, Bandung, Bekasi, including the packaging, including the color, and so on. Then we have to check it, whether we like it or not. Then we offer it. We make the market research for this hanger. Now, this is what I'm telling. I've just told that we have to, because it is an American online shop, we have to register the trademark in the USPTO, US Patent and Trademark Office. This is the registration. You can see VOC is selling all this product and registered with USPTO by my son, M.A. Sastro Subroto, the same family name as me, and it is registered there. And I told you, I and my son have never visited USPTO office. We visited them online. How the future may looks like. Now, this today there are many places without access to ICT. Soon, space-based telecommunication hubs such as Starlink, Google Loon, and so on may provide ICT access to every part on Earth. Every part. Today, there's only one global internet service operated by ICANN USA. In the near future, how about other similar services offered by non-ICANN operators? And not only America can make internet, other countries can make it too. Let's see. This is the SpaceX adding capability to Starlink, where it is operated already. $99 a month if you want to become a consumer of Starlink. Already so, all including in Indonesia. Indonesia is 1.3 million rupiah. Divide it by 14,000, then it will be around 99, something like that. 1.3 million rupiah per month. Of course, you have to buy a bit of equipment. This is, or you can order it Starlink in Indonesia, then you have to pay 1.3. Then next year, hopefully, you can get a Starlink Wi-Fi. This is the one that I said why only I can offer it. And other countries also try to do the same. Inside China's controversial mission to reinvent the internet. On the cool deal last December, you can read it. You have the link, and you can read it yourself. What happened is that the China has a team that had masterminded the new internet protocol proposals from the Chinese telecom giant Huawei, of course, with their partner in China, which had sent the largest delegation and proposed ITU, International Telecom Union, to have a new internet with a new IP system. This is what is offered by China. Perhaps in a few years, they will offer also Chinese internet. This is Russia. Russia, Mr. Putin has mentioned that they will set up disconnect from internet and set up their own Russian internet. This is a different with American. So perhaps in the near future, you may have a Wi-Fi connected to internet, another Wi-Fi connected to Russian net, another Wi-Fi connecting to China net, just like our handphone today. Many people have two handphones, one with Telkomsel, one with Indosat, or one with another one, or sometimes three. Why not? So if you can do it with handphone, you can do it also with internet in a few years later. Final note says that ICT is used as a tool for globalization. Besides all positive and useful impact, there are many negative impacts. These are intensively discussed and have to be overcome by all of us. Fake news, data stolen, more and more dependency on internet services. More and more dependency on internet service means more and more dependency on ICANN company. Sovereignty of countries are among the topics discussed worldwide. Please note, and it's just to show you that just a top-level domain name may cause global problem. In the next slide, an example is shown. Hence, all countries should work hand in hand to overcome the negative impact. We have negative impact, positive, and what we have to do is to improve, to increase the positive impact, to decrease and to minimize the negative impact. Just a name of top-level domain can cause a global problem. This is controversy in the use of names. Top-level domain, which various names are commonly used, such as .com, .iro, and many others. Therefore, the application of a Turkish company, AGIT, to ICANN in order to use top-level domain .islam and .halal has caused controversies around the world, including Indonesia. The application to use .amazon, for example, as a top-level domain requested by Amazon, Mr. Jeff Bezos requested to use .amazon instead of Amazon.com. They want to use their own .amazon. Has also got objection from many several South American countries which are member of the ACTO, Amazon Cooperation Treaty Organization. They even sent a letter, complaint letter, objection letter to the ICANN that the request for a company Amazon should not be agreed. Imagine the problem and intensive consequences when ICANN stop internet service to a country. For example, last time they stopped the internet service to Crimea, a small country below Russia, for example. This is example of top-level domain, .academy, .church, .education, .school, for business, there are .network, .partner, .group, .whatever. This is operated by Donuts, a company. This is .iro, operated by another company. You have many other companies offering you so many top-level domains. Now, this is an example as how just a name .halal and .islam produce a worldwide problem. In early 2012, AGIT proposed use of .islam and .halal. In 2013 on April, the GEC ICANN, Government Advisory Council of ICANN, complained to the ICANN that it should not be approved. The GEC recognizes that religious terms are sensitive issues. Some GEC members have raised sensitivities on the application that relate to Islamic terms, specifically .islam and .halal. The GEC members concerned have noted that application for .islam and .halal lack community involvement and support. It is the view of these GEC members that this applicant should not proceed, should stop. Now, on November 2013, OIC, the Organization of Islamic Countries, including Saudi Arabia, Yemen, and so on. I do not know, I am not remember all the members of OIC, but that includes Indonesia. They want to stop the .islam and .halal. Then Indonesia, the Indonesian minister, the government of Indonesia also filed objections with ICANN in the use of this .islam and .halal. Okay, so that's my short presentation, and hope we can discuss it later. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Ashwin. There have been a list of questions on internet communication technology and even entrepreneurship, nowadays entrepreneurship through technology directed to Pak Ashwin. But I will have to direct the question first to our first speaker, Professor Alfonso. Professor Alfonso, are you here with us?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So one of the participants sent me a direct message. She is Theo. Wait, Fio. Let me read her full name here. Okay, Fiorenza Aska S. Fiorenza wrote, I want to be in the hologram class because it will be a new experience for me and I really want to know how the hologram teacher works. So probably Professor Alfonso can explain one more time how it actually works for us, probably to watch a simple projection from YouTube or from Zoom is something that are friendly for us, but probably not this one because we haven't experienced it firsthand. And then Theo also want to ask how effective the hologram teacher to the understanding of the learner. Does it does it escalate the understanding of the learner significantly compared to learnings through Zoom or the projected materials that we have been friendly with, Professor Alfonso? Two questions.
Well, yes, in this case, what I present, we use this method, this learning technique. We use just in the classroom for the moment, in the classroom where the students are present, and I think in the case if somebody wants to use this technique in order to have in-house, for example, it's necessary to make some kind or arrangement. It is necessary to have a crystal, to have a projector, some kind of box. Yes, some kind of box with a crystal is the class screen, arrange the projector, but it is not exactly as we are using in the classroom and this technique, no? So that for the moment, we have many information how is working this method in my institution, because we have many things in control. Yes, many things in control. Yeah, and the projection, for example, is necessary to have the person in the real size, in color, so in that way that simulates a hologram effect, for example. No, it's not expensive also, but right now I know that there are many companies that are working in order to have a real hologram. It's very expensive. Also, several companies like Universal Studios, for example, in US, Disneyland, they are using some special techniques in which they project a real hologram, no? But this is a different technique. It's very expensive. So that it's very important to understand that this technique, for the moment, what I can say is for using in a classroom with the students present in the classroom, and is necessary to make some arrangement there. Probably is low cost, not expensive, and in this way to have the professor in this or the teacher in this image projected on the screen. So this is what I can say to respect, because I don't know, I really don't know exactly how it's possible to use this technique in order to have in your house, for example. It's necessary to make some arrangement and to have that image projected. It's necessary to be created, maybe some kind of companies trying to make something related with that, no? But well, in this case, this is what I can say. No? I can say that and also because that effect it's pretty similar like the students are in the regular classroom with the teacher present there, and one of the advantage that we have here is that the teacher can be present in several classrooms at the same time, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is not necessary to use this technique for example, for one classroom. In that case, well, just the professor go to that classroom. But now, for example, we are using this in order to have a expert, a teacher with special expertise who is in some part of the country, and from that place, he used this technique in order to project to many people, many students in different places, and so that this is a good advantage that is possible to have.
Okay, Professor, thank you. Theo, I hope that answers your question. We've got another question. This will be the last question for Professor Alfonso, then I'll move on to the next speaker. So participants, you can always send questions to us and we will redirect it to the speakers, even though the speaker cannot answer you in this forum. Okay, so from the digital lifestyle group, the participant's name is Parham Mansuri. Hello, Parham. Parham Mansuri has a concern, Professor, about it seems like this project needs a lot of money and good internet connection. What about in some countries like Iran that has that has a poor connection and does not have enough facilities for both internet and also probably the other facilities like gadgets, device, and all that. Is it still possible to undergo or conduct this hologram professor project?
Well, as we are here right now using Zoom, it's exactly that we use, for example, in this projection for different classrooms, so that in this case it's not necessary more cost in order to make a special connection for the different classrooms. This is for one hand, so that is the same situation, I think, in any place in different countries that usually we use Zoom, for make the connection. And in the other hand, the person is in the transmitting room is also is not a very special, that transmitting room. It's just a room where there is a camera and also there are several displays in which the professor is watching the students from different classrooms. Also in the classroom, in the receiving room, there are also at least one camera that is watching the students in that classroom. So that if there are, for example, 4 classrooms, it's necessary to use four cameras, and that camera send the signal to the transmitting room where is the professor in order to watch the students. So that I think is not many costs related with this project, and also where the person is projected it's just a crystal. It's just a glass screen with the size in which it's possible to project the image of the person.
Okay, so I hope it answers your concern that although with limited facilities, this project can still be done. Thank you, Professor Alfonso. I've got questions for Ibu Vinda. Ibu Vinda, are you here with us? You're welcome, Parham Mansuri. Yes, Ibu. as I was listening to your presentation, I remember this one specific figure, very famous figure. She is the, I think she was the person of the year of Time magazine, America's Time magazine, which is Greta Thunberg. But the question is, do we all, if we want to contribute for preserving our lovely earth, do we all have to be Greta Thunberg? I mean, stop going to school and then going all over the world using the ecologically friendly transportation possible. What if we cannot do that? What if we are chained in this house of us? Then what can we do, Ibu, to contribute to our earth? What can we do to do good to our water, air, and land? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Yang. So actually, we can start from our home itself, yeah, for our daily life. For example, if we using for the electricity, yeah, we can go, if we go to out of the room, we can turn off the light. It contributes for us to limit the consumption of energy. If we use a limitation of energy, it contributes to the production of the power plant. So if we reduce the production of a power plant, it will reduce the exploitation of our natural resources, non-renewable natural resources. So this is one very small action from us. Think if we, each of us in Indonesia, which is about the population of 200 million population in Indonesia, if we do saving energy, so you can imagine the emission to the air and exploitation with the coal and fossil fuel burning will reduce significantly. So it is only from our small steps from our daily life. Also, if we solid waste, yeah, solid waste. If we separate our solid waste, plastic waste, and paper waste, organic waste. So it's also also for the natural self-purification. If we separate the solid waste, the organic waste and unorganic waste. So if we mix all together, like plastic waste and organic waste, you can imagine that the plastic waste here, it's very difficult to degrade. So it takes more than 100 years to degrade. So if we can separate and the plastic waste can be recycled to other products, it will be very beneficial for us. Recently, in Indonesia, we have a solid waste bank. Maybe in Jakarta now we have some community that collect the plastic waste from our household, and then they collect all the plastic waste like plastic bottle waste, and then they can recycle to other products. So this is only from us for once. So the principle from ourselves itself should be keep in mind with the reduce, reuse, and recycle. So this is our main principle to change our daily life. This is only for one step, each of us. I believe that if we, in each of us, do the reduce, recycle, and reuse, it will give a very significant impact for the environment. Yeah, I think that's it.
I see, Ibu, that is a very practical answer that I am positive that all of the participants can start applying in their life if they want to. So probably today, August of 27, will be the first day of you becoming your very own Earth hero. So moving on to the next question. For Pak Ashwin, has emphasized that even though that his son is away in Bavaria and even in Canada, but they managed to take care of their sick parents because of COVID-19 positive. And then he also mentioned that we don't have to go to actually to visit America just to be able to market our product in America. Then my question will be, Pa Ashwin, this teenager participants nowadays, they prepare themselves for a world that they don't understand. The world 10 years ago is way different from the world that we know now. Now, with the vast progression of internet and the big influence of internet and communication technology to the world that we live in, what kind of tips that you could give to our participants so then they could strive in the future with this vast progression of technology and communication? Thank you, Pak Ashwin.
Yes, thank you, Bu Yang. Oh, first of all, I would like to apologize that I made a small mistake. I'm telling you about google.com and zoom.com. It was wrong. Zoom is not .com. Zoom is zoom.us. They use the country code top level domain of the US country. That are not they use country code top level domain.us and not generic top level domain.com. So that's the address is different. Now, how to use the internet? That's interesting. First of all, as I mentioned, there are so many positive impact and negative impact of internet. The positive impact, for example, is e-commerce. The negative impact is, for example, fake news spreads through the internet. That is not so nice. So what we have to do is to increase the positive impact than to decrease or to minimize the negative impact. So what I propose for everybody is that we have to see the positive side of the internet and try to implement what you like using that positive side. If you like to study, if you like to learn more information, just register for online courses. There are so many free online courses. Well, there are also paid online courses. There are free online courses and there are also very expensive online courses. Don't worry about that. If you have a lot of money, go for the expensive one. If you don't have too much money, go for a free online course. There are many of them. So that is, you can choose whatever you like to study on that. That's number one. Secondly, not only study, but then you can do so many activities using the internet. I did the e-commerce. You can do sales. You can sell clothes. You can sell your expertise if you are very good in designing a logo, for example. Logo, just like logo of Dr. Rabbit. You have the logo of Dr. Rabbit here. You have the logo of YCC. Offer your expertise in the internet. There are many companies in the internet requesting for expertise for logo design and so on. So just go there and offer your expertise, and you can earn extra money from your leisure extra time. Now, how about the negative impact? There are so many negative impact, especially fake news, frame news, hoax, and so on. So what I can suggest is that when you read, when you are in the physical space, you are walking on the street and on a tree, you can sometimes find a paper put on that tree. The paper said, okay, if you are sick of, if you are getting a COVID-19, just eat a Panadol and eat my particular type of apple, then you will get healthy again. So that's all. Can you believe that? No, you don't believe that because you do not even know who write that information putting on a tree. So it is the same in the internet. If you are receiving an information on the internet, whether it is from inter-messaging service like WhatsApp or from Facebook or from ever, you do not know who they are. You do not even know their address in the physical space. So everybody can use everything's name on the Facebook, on Instagram, on whatever. So how can you believe an information like that? So please check and recheck again. If you read an information without referring to the writer and the address of the writer in the physical space, and that is important, because you can basically an information will be very useful if and only if you can check it on the physical space, the address of the writer. If not, you do not know who they are. Just a name. I can put my name in a cyberspace as Ibu Ian, for example. Sorry, Ibu Ian. Just put a name like that. Just put the photos, any photos I want. There is a small joke that in the internet, you can be a dog. You can be everybody. So nobody knows you are a dog, because nobody knows who you are in the internet unless you put your address in the physical space. So any information you have in the internet without any address in the physical space, then you have to check and recheck again. That is a negative impact. But the positive impact, the enormous of that. So try to explore that. So that's all. Yeah, thank you.
Wow. So bottom line is the opportunities is wide open for you to rewrite your stars and your future, but being cautious is the wisest thing you could do in this vast progression of internet and communication and technology. You have gotten knowledge, information, data so abundantly today from the best people in their field. The question now is what you're going to do with this knowledge. The word action plan comprises of two words. The first one is action. That means that something you actively do for something else, while plan is to actually foresee what you can do in the future. Would like to know what your action plan is after listening to all of the knowledge and the data, the information, the presentations from all of our experts. From the bottom of my heart, I would like to thank you to our 4 esteemed speakers. I have learned a lot, and I am now ready to be the citizen of the world using my own potential and with my own limitation. And I hope you are too. Over to you, Ibu Ade Angelia Iyang, signing out.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Iyang. And very much thank you for all the speakers for this morning session. I'm sure all participants get very valuable information and knowledge from this morning activity. Okay, as we have the agenda for today, there will be another plenary discussion session in the afternoon. And then after this morning session, we will take a break and we will meet again at 3 o'clock or 15 GMT +2 time. And again, the participant is requested to be in the Zoom meeting room again 5 minutes before the time. I think, thank you very much for everybody, and have a break to be more refreshed for the next session, and see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. See you.
So everybody can leave and then coming again at the 3 clear from.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. All right.